Wow. So if Fatah and Hamas become a unity government, this peace process is done. Dead in the water. DOA. Here's something out of UN News Center. It says UN Rights Chief reminds world leaders of their responsibility to protect the Syrian people. United Nations Human Rights Chief today urged the international community to protect civilians in Syria, stating that the Security Council's failure to agree on collective action seems to have fueled the government's readiness to massacre its own people. According to local sources as well as independent media reports from inside the city of Homs, the Syrian army has sharply increased the use of tanks, helicopters, mortars, rockets, and artillery fire to attack civilian areas, stated a news release issued by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR. Navi Pillay, the High Commissioner, said, "I am appalled by the Syrian government's willful assault on Homs and its use of artillery and other heavy weaponry in what appears to be indiscriminate attacks on civilian areas in the city." This whole Syria thing is about to blow up, people. Check this story out. This is out of the Depka file. It says, first foreign troops in Syria back Homs rebels, Damascus and Moscow at odds. This thing just keeps getting deeper and deeper every day. British and Qatari special operations units are operating with rebel forces undercover in the Syrian city of Homs, just 162 kilometers from Damascus, according to Depka files' exclusive military and intelligence sources. The foreign troops are not engaged in direct combat with the Syrian forces, bombarding different parts of Syria's third largest city of 1.2 million people. They are tactical advisors. They manage rebel communication lines and relay their requests for arms, ammo, fighters, and logistical aid to outside suppliers, mostly in Turkey. So we have foreign fighters trying to help the people fighting against Assad's regime that's trying to kill everybody. Again, I'm not going to read the rest of the story. It goes on. It talks about all kinds of things, but you get the gist of it. Wait a minute. I saw somewhere where Iran... Oh, here we go. This next story out of... where's this from? Infowars.com says Iran to deploy 15,000 troops to help Syria's Assad. Do you see this thing? This war in Syria is growing. Okay? This started out as kingdom against kingdom. In Syria, they're fighting amongst themselves. It's developing into nation against nation. You've got Iran sending people in. You've got Turkey sending people for the other side. You've got Russia supplying one side. You've got... This thing is growing. It's growing. And I think it will possibly culminate with Isaiah 17:1 coming to pass right in front of our eyes. Israeli news outlet Haaretz is reporting that Iran is aiding in Syria's crackdown on opposition forces. The Al Arabia news channel also reported that Iran's Revolutionary Guard has deployed 15,000 armed troops to Syria in order to help Syrian President Bashar Assad in his fight against opposition forces. People, this is just, you know, all I can think of is I hope when people see this happen that many will turn to the Bible and say, oh gosh, that was prophesied in the Bible 2,500 years ago, close to 3,000 years ago, and here it is happening. Maybe some of this other stuff prophesied in the Bible that hasn't happened yet is about to happen. And maybe more and more people will come into the light of the truth of Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, the Son of God, and accept Him as their King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Because people, it's getting to be crunch time. It's time to decide who you're for, who you're going to support, who you follow, who you believe, what truth is in you. There's no sitting on the fence. You're either for God or you're against God. Here's another story out of the Jerusalem Post. Analysis says Assad will turn to Russia for a way out. Defense officials say Russian foreign minister is expected to tell Assad diplomatic support from Russia won't last. You know, we know Russia and Iran lead a world army against Israel, Ezekiel 38:39. We see these two already in bed together with all that they're doing right now. The pieces are all falling into place, people. I hope you can see what I'm talking about here. I hope my efforts to open your eyes to the real truth don't go unnoticed. I don't even, I mean, and you can't even pray against a prophecy of God, can you? I mean, would any amount of prayer have stopped God from flooding the earth in Noah's day? Would any amount of prayer have kept Jesus off the cross? Even though it was for our own good. You know, the people of Jesus' day didn't want it to happen. His disciples certainly didn't want it to happen. You know, Peter said, "May it never be." And Jesus said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." Called his own disciple Satan for saying, "May it never be that you die on the cross." Sometimes we get a little confused between what our flesh wants and what we think in our mind versus what is truth in spirit. And I know, because I have that war right here within me as well, flesh fighting against spirit. Because what your flesh wants and what your spirit wants are usually two different things. And you have to be able to understand which one is speaking to you at the time. Usually if it's something selfish, it's probably your flesh, because your flesh is going to fight to survive one way or another. Your spirit lives on. Here's another story out of WorldNet Daily. Iran prepping for Hormuz shutdown. This recent Iranian naval activity has shown exercises that appear to be aimed more at shutting down the Strait of Hormuz than the defensive preparations that had been identified as the goal. Of course, the interesting part is the U.S. military was watching all these maneuvers, and now they kind of know what they're up to. And they can see, after analyzing this, a way to beat them at their own game. Again, I'm not going to read the whole story. That's the Reader's Digest condensed version I just gave you. Anyway, let's move on. Here's some things kind of from the Sign of the Times department. This out of WorldNet Daily. Billboard offers defense to Sharia threats. They don't want Americans to know the truth about genocide, honor killings, and stonings. A patriotic organization is launching a billboard campaign to undermine nationwide efforts to advertise and promote Islamic law. Yes, right here in America. In case you don't realize it, the Muslims want Sharia law all over the world. And I don't know if Islam will be the one world government that the Bible speaks of. I have a feeling it's going to be more like a interfaith type thing, like Chrislam, where the Pope merges Christianity and Islam together like they've already been doing. Heaven help us when that happens. But this group, Stop Islamization of Nations, is buying ad space for a billboard calling on Americans to learn the dark side of Islamic law, or Sharia law, which is known for punishments such as beheading and amputation. The effort's leader, Pamela Geller, says her group has one real purpose: to counter the impact of the pro-Sharia billboard campaign of the Islamic Circle of North America, an alleged Muslim Brotherhood front organization. They're trying, people. They've got a foot in the door with a president in the White House that's Muslim. They are trying all kinds of things to impose Sharia law upon Americans. First of all, this can't work because America is a republic and a democracy. Islam is not. It tells you what to do, tells you when to pray, when to study, when to do everything. It's a dictatorship. It's actually a cult is what it is. If they tell you when to pray 5 times a day, is that really coming from the heart? If you're forced to pray, no matter what you're doing, you have to stop and go pray. Is that really going to be a heartfelt prayer, I ask you? No, it's not. What while their intentions might be well meant in the beginning, they're certainly not good intentions at all. Anyway, here's another story from the Sign of the Times Department. You've probably heard of this. Court rejects state ban on gay marriage in California. Federal appeals court struck down California's voter-mandated ban on gay marriages, saying it was unconstitutional. I'm sorry, I don't think I read anywhere in the Constitution that talks about a man being able to marry another man. Again, like the Bible says, as in the days of Noah, as in the days of Lot. Let's see, God destroyed the world because of its wickedness in the days of Noah. And God destroyed 2 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, in the days of Lot because of their wickedness, their lustful homosexual activity. Men even tried to have sex with the angels that came into the city to warn Lot to get out. And now here's America saying, yeah, gay people can get married. Why not? What the heck? We're liberal. We're modern. We're free thinkers. Yeah, let them. You know, what's next? A guy marrying a chicken, a goat, a piece of cheesecake, a bagel? Come on, really? 14, 15 wives? You know, where are we going from there? Think that's all in God's plan? You think that's all okay by God? I don't think so, people. The Bible's very clear. Homosexuality is a sin, and please don't call me a gay basher or homophobe or any of that stuff. I have gay friends. I have 2 gay friends I've led to Christ. So, I'm neither of those. You can hate sin without hating the sinner. Okay? I'm a sinner. I'm not perfect. I sin. I hate it. I'm ashamed of it. I don't like it. But I'm a sinner nonetheless. And if I hate my own sin, the Bible tells us to hate what is evil. Sin is evil. It's an abomination to God. And it separates us from God. And the more sin we have in our lives, the further away from God we are. Here's another story from the Sign of the Times, this out of the Washington Times. Drones over United States gets okay by Congress. Really? We need military drones flying over America because we're at war? Really? What does the government need spy drones in the air for us right now? Don't we have military helicopters that can watch, you know, high-speed chases and keep an eye on criminals as they leave a crime scene? But now the FAA Reauthorization Act, which President Obama is expected to sign, orders the Federal Aviation Administration to develop regulations for the testing and licensing of commercial drones by 2015. So they will be watching you. You've heard the term eye in the sky? Yeah, they're going to be everywhere. In case you haven't noticed, there's cameras on every corner in your bigger cities. They're watching everything you're doing already. They're going to have more eyes in the sky. Bigger government, less people. Just saying. Let's get into the Word. This world, I don't know, guys. Does this world make you weary? Am I the only one that just feels spiritually beat up by this world? Let's talk about God's battle plan. Judges 7 verse 2, the Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me. My own strength has saved me." You know, a lot of times when I face a difficult task, which it seems lately they come in waves, I have to plan in my mind how I'm going to overcome that particular situation or accomplish this new task. Need to carefully consider everything you're going to need and what resources might be available, and then you try to tackle things, right? Gideon probably had a plan in mind too when he first was called by God to rescue the Israelites from these massive armies of Midian and Amalek. He sent out a call to arms on the shofar, summoning his troops. He also sent messengers to the other tribes, asking them to send the warriors to battle. When 32,000 men answered the call, Gideon most